Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be looking at the best estate cars you can get in the UK for under £10,000. So whether you're looking for a car to help accommodate the ever-expanding family that you've got, or if you're just one of these people that likes to lug around large items from A to B on a day-to-day basis, you're covered. So I spent the last few hours knocking around Auto Trader and seeing what the gods of Auto Trader have on offer. So I've also done some basic parameters of up to £10,000, obviously, that's our budget. I've set the mileage limit to 100,000 and I've also set the car age to minimum 2010 and onwards. Those are kind of the basic ones I would do when looking at a daily. You might go for more, so by all means feel free to have a look after this video and let me know what you find. So I've got 6 options for you that I've found myself and curated, and I'm going to chat through those now. So let's get into it. First up is the Mercedes-Benz C-Class. This particular one is the C200D. So it's got a 1.6 litre diesel engine, and it's also the facelift version of the C-Class. It's incredibly fuel efficient, it's pretty bulletproof all round, it's cheap to run within reason, and it's incredibly cheap to tax at, I think, £35. £35, fairly low insurance group, not as low as some of its counterparts. But for under 10 grand, if you stick a private plate on that car, people aren't going to have a clue how old it is. It looks pretty brand new to me. So I think all round, that's a good buy. It's well under the threshold of 100,000 miles. Like I said, I think if you get anything around 100,000 miles, it's still going to be fine. I'm a huge believer that cars can last, as long as you service them properly and look after them, they can go as long as you want. So 64,000 miles is definitely wet behind the ears in respect of car terms for me. So that's probably one of my key options here. The C-Class, I really don't think you can go wrong with that. I think it's a really overall smart looking car. Solidly equipped, looks lovely, and yeah, decent first choice up there. Next up is a firm favourite of the estate classes, and that's the Skoda Octavia. I've gone for the 1.5 TSI. I'd ordinarily just go for a 2 litre TDI or equivalent in respect of an estate car, but these 1.5s, and I think it's also the 1 litre petrol engines from Skoda, have had rave reviews all round. I think they're very reliable and they're still punchy enough to haul even a large car like this around, so I don't think you'll have any problems with that at all. Opted for the SE technology trim. Again, I think it's a really good balance all round of enough equipment as standard and still got a few nice features in there, including Apple CarPlay for you, to keep you and the family happy. This one is just under the budget of 100,000 miles, but it's also £1,500 under budget. Again, another solid option. I don't think you're going to have too many troubles with this car at all. There's a reason that the Octavia's won multiple awards, especially from the likes of What Car for What Car of the Year. Running costs, again, you're going to be fine. It's also Euro 6 compliant. I don't know why I keep going into this one. I'm not used to using the desktop version. I use my apps for everything. Running costs, again, I think it's going to be low. So it's 190 for the tax because it's newer than 2017. It's actually a 2021 plate. So you're going to have to pay £190, but I think your insurance group's only 17E, so it's way below the Mercedes. I think overall running costs are going to be pretty decent. I think you'll get about 50, nearly 60 mpg on a long run. Let me just move my head out of the way. Whee! Yeah, 51 mpg is your combined. I think you'll get closer to 60 if I'm honest. It depends what kind of mileage you're doing. Long runs, you'll be totally fine. So yeah, another solid option, especially around this price. £8,500 for a 2021 car. What's not to like about that at all? Again, if you're really into it, private plate on that, people won't have a clue. By the way, I'm not massively vain when it comes to that. I just think it's nice to, kind of disguise sometimes and have people guess how old your car is. I know realistically it's none of the business, but it's just something I do. Next up is the Ford Focus. This is actually the pre-facelift Ford Focus of the current generation, the last generation of the Ford Focus. It's unfortunately being scrapped, if you didn't know, at the end of 2025 by Ford, along with the Fiesta. I think it's a decision they're going to end up regretting, but it's no doubt going to be replaced with some form of EV that no one's going to buy new. So we'll see how that goes for them. This one just comes under the budget of £10,000, under 100,000 miles, so you're still below that threshold. It's a pretty brand new car. It's a 2021 plate again. It's manual. I personally would probably try get an automatic for my estate, but that again is personal preference. I just think in my head estate cars are comfy, absolute mile munchers, and the last thing I want to be doing is faffing around with a manual gearbox. You are going to struggle with certain brands in respect to the gearboxes, sort of the likes of Ford and Skoda. A lot of them are manual. Volkswagen, Audi, and the Mercedes, you probably have a bit more luck with that. But overall, it's a fantastic car. The Focus, especially the Z-Tech trim, is amazingly well equipped. The 1.5 litre engine is perfectly sized for this kind of car. You can have no problems in respect to torque at all. I think they do a 1 litre EcoBoost for this car. Could be wrong, but I would avoid that. Not like the plague, but I would avoid it. I have no problem with the EcoBoost engine. I've done a video on it as well. I know it's nicknamed the EcoBoom to some people, but it's a good engine overall if it's serviced when it's supposed to be and it's maintained well, but also when it's put in the correct cars. If it goes anything outside of a hatchback size, I just feel it's strained and stressed and you're kind of asking for trouble. So stick with the 1.5s and higher for these kind of cars, and I don't think you'll have too many problems. As for the, it's similar to the Skoda. It's well equipped. It's Euro 6 compliance. You're not going to have any ULEZ problems for those of you down south. Tax and everything, I think, will be £190 as well. It's an even lower insurance group at 14E, so you're going to be saving a lot of money all round. MPG, it says 62. I think you'll probably get closer to 50 with this. Actually, I'm saying that it's a diesel, so yeah, I'd say 55 to 60-ish on a long run. No problem at all. But yeah, your family's going to be pretty happy in that car, or whatever goods you're transporting. Who knows? Next up is the Volkswagen Golf. It's a firm favourite of mine. I've driven plenty of these and never ever had a problem. This is the facelift of the Mark 7 generation. So it's going to have the upgraded xenon lights, which you can see here. Apple CarPlay is standard. Alloy wheels are standard. It's just generally a nice, well-built, solid German car. It's the 1.6 TDI, so you're going to have probably very limited problems engine-wise as long as you maintain it and look for a decent example. 2020, so very fresh and very new. I think tax on this, again, it's all going to be the 190 because it's after 2017, but let's have a look anyway. And even, that's not even low, so it's 15, so it's incredibly low still. 190 tax year and insurance group 15, so it's just going to be a nice, not cheap, but easy to run car that I think you'll have limited problems with. They're really nice inside these days, solidly built. Yeah, it's, again, just an all-round nice place to be. I have nothing else to say on it other than it's a good deal. And it's 23,000 miles, above average, but who cares? It's a great car. Next up, now, out of all of these, this is probably my favourite, and I'm very biased because I used to own one, but it was the saloon version. So this is the Audi A4 B9 generation. So it started from 2016 onwards, and it's honestly such a good car. The estate is probably even better, but the saloon alone was fantastic. I had the S-Tronic gearbox, which I would really recommend with this car. It's fantastic. So if you can afford to get an S-Tronic version, I would, especially with it being potentially a mile muncher and, something you're going to go on long journeys with. You're really not going to have any issues at all with it, and you're just going to enjoy the drive. That's all I can say. As far as the engine goes, 2 litre TDI is what I'd recommend. I think you can get two variants of it. I think there's a 150 PS one here, and I think there's also a 191. I had the 150 PS on a saloon, and it was fine. Whether to go for the 190, I really don't know. I think you pack plenty of punch with it. It's just whether you want that bit more speed and power. It's just personal preference, I think. But it had Apple CarPlay as standard. It had really good infotainment system. I'd say this infotainment system is better than the facelift version they brought out in 2021, just because it doesn't have that stupid touchscreen. I don't mind touchscreens, but this one doesn't have sort of any haptic feedback. So you'll be looking and driving, touching it, and not sure what's going on other than a mild click. So it's got the scroll wheel on this one. It's fantastic. You've got the aircon dials, loads of buttons. It's what I like, and I hope it's what you like too. So I'd really, really recommend them. I think anything Sport and S-Line is fine. S-Line, I think you get slightly upgraded headlights, but with Sport, I'd say you get better suspension. The S-Line's a little bit firm, so if you're conscious of ride, go for maybe one with 17-inch wheels and smaller. I think if you start creeping into the 18s and 19s, that's when the lower profile of the treads start to have a bit of an effect on ride. So if you want big wheels, go for the Sport. If you want smaller wheels and comfort, go for the S-Line in that kind of combination. So you really can't go either. Like, you can't go wrong with either, that's what I'm trying to say. Tax on this, I think, is £35. So again, pre-17, you're going to pay really low amounts. Let's go to running costs. When I had one, it was 20 quid. So yeah, it's 35 quid now. And insurance group 20e. So really, really cheap running costs. I think there's a lot to be said for paying a low amount in tax. I currently have a car at the moment where it's still within the 6-year period for cars over £40,000, and it's 560 quid now. It's every time I get that bill every year, it makes me want to cry. I know it sounds stupid, but I've got better things to spend my money on than just give it to the government. Anyway, next up is the Audi A6, the bigger brother of the A4. This is the C7 generation of the A6. It's a black edition. Do you need the black edition? Not at all, but it just looks really good with the rear tinted windows and the black edition wheels, so I went for it. S-Line and Sport, you'll be totally fine, to be honest, but for the price range, you can get a black edition, so, I would. Why not? I think with this one, so this is, the C7 generation is one generation behind the B9 of the A4, so the current one, the C8, is out now, but that doesn't mean this one's old at all. Again, with the A4, go for the 2-litre TDI, get the automatic. It's going to be a lovely, lovely executive estate. It's going to look good, private plate on there, not a clue how old it's going to be. And I think the back end of these look fantastic. Really, really, really good looking car. My only gripe, and it's just due to the age, the interior looks a little bit dated nowadays when you compare it to the A4. It's still a lovely place to be. It's got really solid materials. I love the little drop-in screen, but it is showing its age a bit, unfortunately. Also, I think all the A6s came as standard with leather seats, and these ones look fine, but just be mindful that quite a lot do look quite battered, and the higher mileage cars do look that way when you get leather seats. So if you get half and half, i.e. the Alcantara and leather or leather and fabric, that's probably what I would go for. Quite a nitpicky comment, but it's just sort of how I feel. I think tax on these is about £20 or £30. Well, it should be. It looks like this one's 190, maybe because it's black edition. But tax is a little bit higher at 27e, but it's still by no means breaking the bank when it comes to running costs. And I think with these as well, there's a version called the Ultra, which I think is a lot more efficient. But even on these, you're still going to be looking around 50 odd, 60 mpg in the long run. And a car that looks like that, I don't think you've got much to complain about, if I'm honest. Of all the ones there, like I've said, I think the A4 B9 is the stellar standout pick, but I don't think you can go wrong with them all, and hopefully that assortment of cars really kind of gives people a broad spectrum of options. But yeah, A4 for me, or maybe the Golf, but I think A4, just with it being the current generation and having owned it personally, I can, speak firsthand that it's a solid, solid car. So yeah, and by the way, if you actually want to know more about the Audi A4, I did do a brief review on the saloon version, so click in the pop-out banner here somewhere or here, and take a quick look at that one for a bit more info. As with any car, guys, just make sure you're getting the best possible example for the budget you have. Try look for a reputable dealer, a decent private seller, look for one with a good service history, look for one that's probably got less owners. I'm normally not that biased when it comes to high owners, but high owners usually are a bit of a red flag in my eyes. It's not necessarily that people don't take care of them, but more than likely there'll have been someone in the gaps of how many people have owned it that's just run it on a shoestring. I've had it with multiple cars. I've definitely had it with the Porsche 996 if you want to check that video out as well. So yeah, look for one with low owners, good service history, reputable dealer, and really, really do a car history check, especially if you're doing it with a private seller. For the sake of 10, 15, 20 pounds, whatever, it's just worth doing. It's save you so much money in the long run, and the amount of lemons that I've come across as a result of them It's just a no-brainer, so get it done. Anyway, that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed this style as well. If you did, do drop a comment below. I'm interested because I've done a few different styles of these videos. I'm trying to see what people like. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, do give the button a little prod for me. It really does help the channel. And yeah, I'll catch you in the next one. Cheers, guys.